Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a highly requested and well overdue bog barrel update. So everything obviously in the bog barrels now is in full flush of growth. All the colour is prominent in there. Unfortunately we did just have a kind of storm, so very high winds, a lot of rain, which unfortunately knocked over a lot of the taller Saracenias and they are not looking as great as they did. However, I will be posting pictures over the top because I have been taking pictures. I find it really hard to do the bog barrel updates outside and finding the right time to do it. So luckily I had some nice weather today and I was able to do it. So I'm hoping that you'll enjoy the update of this. Okay, so this is my first bog barrel that I will show here, which is the one that has officially always been planted the same, apart from the addition of one Purpuria Venosa. So this was looking its best just about a week ago. Then we had a terrible storm and basically knocked over all the pictures, so you can see that they have been tied up because they basically all snapped in the wind. So the Flava copper top that I've got in here, the Purpuria, is absolutely stunning. I'm going to have to put some pictures over this video just to show how it was looking just before the storm and how the pictures looked. So especially outside you can see that the Saracenia get what is almost like a indigestion from the amount of insects in there quite early, especially being outside, as they just capture everything that flies past. So all of these pictures are full. I don't know if you can see in there, you can see all the dark insects in there. So all the pictures start breaking and just get a little bit old very early and will die off a bit quicker, but it's still producing loads of traps. And like I said, it was a very beautiful plant, but it's still really nice now. You can see all the coloration it's got on it and the amount of pictures it produced. So I was contemplating whether to take this into the greenhouse over winter, which I've mentioned before, but decided against it, and I'm quite happy to have left it out here because it just does so well and produces so many pictures with such lovely colour. Unfortunately, the flower that was on it was successfully pollinated, but again got snapped in the storm, so it wouldn't have made it and I had to cut it off. Over here I've got my Flava green swamp, which was a bit later into the season, but it's got some really nice pictures. Pictures are double the size as last year. It's kind of almost got like a triangular shape with a wavy almost lid, which is a little bit over compared to a normal Flava, but a nice sturdy large picture. And this one was crossed with a citronelle and has still got its flower on, luckily, but you can see it's starting to produce some new pictures already. Again, had to tie this one up and it's done a little bit better than the other one. It hasn't got any major signs of damage just yet, but really nice tall specimen. Obviously the only problem with having taller Saracenia is the wind, and they will get knocked over throughout all the weather. And finally, well, I say finally, I've actually got another one after this. This is my Saracenia Purpuria cross Catsby. So again, this year had grown amazingly well. I love the colour on it. It is such an amazing Saracenia. And all these pictures, just again before the storm, were standing up like this. Unfortunately they have all been now knocked over, same with this one. It kind of lays down there, which I have just kind of propped it up on the other one. But the colour on this is amazing. It does have a little secondary double down there and was flowering. I have pinched the flower out. It kind of got stunted because of the weird weather that we had this year. It went warm, it started flowering, and then we had a frost again, so it unfortunately didn't make it. But you can see it's still producing new pictures, which it will do late into the season like it did last year. And it went as such a dark lovely red colour, which you can kind of see now. So it starts off like a really nice orange colour like this trap here, and go into a darker, richer colour, but it's just a really lovely plant which is spread out. So tucked away down here is a Saracenia Purpuria Venosa. So this was kind of just like a garden centre replant, just your common one that you would find in the garden centre, and I just popped it out here. The Purpurias do a lot better outside due to them being able to tolerate the colder temperature, and the pitchers are able to fill up with fluid, being obviously lower to the ground. And as you can see in here, there's already a fly in here which is just swimming about at the moment. So it's just a nice shape and they do obviously better, plus they have really nice rich coloration. So this picture is only just opened, which if I just move up here, you can see they start off at like a nice almost greeny with really dark red veining, and then will eventually turn into this, which is like an all red coloration, and again will produce pictures late into the season. So that one's done really well, that I just kind of threw in here in the winter and has done really well. So moving on to fly traps now, and these were just 3 small fly traps that I placed in here. These were just flower stalk propagations from previous years, and as you can see they've done really well. They're starting to colour up a lot as well. They struggled a bit during the winter due to the immense cold weather that we had. These 2 just came back as normal plants, where this 3rd one over here seemed to have like divided up, and from the rhizome loads of other plants came out, so it's got loads of babies surrounding that plant, and they're also flowering. So as you can see, they've got loads of flowers. There's actually more flowers than I've got in any of the ones in my greenhouse. And yeah, so it's just been really well. All these have been pollinated by insects. So you can see that some of them have worked, so the fatter ones have, and obviously the thinner ones at the back haven't. But hopefully I'll be able to get some seeds. I haven't done anything with these. These have simply just been pollinated by insects, which is another great factor about them being outside. And obviously they're just quite a nice display actually if you look at the fly traps with shorter flower stalks, nice thick ones, which obviously is different compared to what I'd usually expect in the greenhouse. Moving on to Drosera now in this pot, and here I have got a filiformis. So there is 2 filiformis plants here, which I do believe divided into 4. I don't know if you can see at the base there. You could just about see 2 of the bases of the plants. So again, because of all the heavy rains that we've got, the dew isn't as abundant as it was, so you can kind of see the dew starting to come back slowly with the more sunshine we've had over the last couple of days, but due to the rain it did wash off, which is just common and just expected. So I haven't changed anything, I haven't put anything in here. So this is a capensis that's either self-seeded or overwintered. Just struggled a bit. As you can see, the flower stalk's a little bit shorter, and I think I can see some aphids on there, which might explain a lot. So I'll probably have to just nip that off in a second. But also got several clusters of spatulata in here, which are just in flower basically now, so most of them have kind of halfway completed the cycle of flowering, and I've just got a couple of odd ones just scattered about. The ones that are surrounding the bases of the Saracenia rhizomes are the ones that would have come in the pot when I originally bought the plants, so these ones are from Hampshire Coniferous Plants, and there's a group of spatulata there. And even this one over here has got several clusters of spatulata, which I'll then harvest the seeds off of those to stop them spreading. I've got an odd rotundifolia in here as well, which has just finished flowering again, so I'll harvest and collect seeds of those. Hopefully they've been pollinated by insects. But I've just got a few basically rogue Drosera in the bottom here, which just makes quite a nice display, especially like the spatulata looking at over that, and obviously especially when they're in flowers, just a nice bit of pink to the base of the bog. So at the back here I have got several clusters of Pinguicula grandiflora. So originally there was just the 1 plant in here, and I kind of dotted the gamiae that plant produces around this kind of general area, and as you can see it's produced clusters of plants. So there are several plants in just this patch alone, and obviously some have spread over there. See some younger ones at the back around the base of the rhizome, and they've kind of just all overlapped each other. There's even like a couple just here behind the labels. So they've done really well, and I'm just kind of really happy that they've spread. They do so much better outside, a little bit like the Purpurias, so I try and keep as many outside. Obviously I have more dedicated to the other bog barrel, which I'm about to show you any second, but I've popped a bit in here as well just to kind of give a little essence really in between the 2 Saracenias, because there's patches. So this bog barrel here, which is the biggest one, is just basically my everything barrel. Okay, and this is what my second bog barrel looks like. So this was newly planted again in the winter, so I didn't like the original design, and I had a couple of tall Saracenias in here as well which didn't like it, so I changed it up a bit, and everything has come in full force. There's a lot of stuff in here which I was quite worried about, didn't think would make it, and it's actually turned out really nice. So all these Pinguicula, which probably was like half the size, even less than that in the previous video, have all spread out. So these were individual hibernacula, some of them were gamiae that I placed around this bog. Obviously some of them have got to a really considerable good size. Unfortunately I didn't get the flower display I wanted. Obviously I wanted them all to flower, and it would be a really nice purple hue in front of everything else. A couple of them did flower, but never at the same kind of time, so didn't get necessarily the display I wanted, but they do look really nice in here, and they are probably going to spread out and get very big, so maybe next year, once they've obviously settled down, they should in theory give a better display. So I did only plant 6 Drosera in here just over winter, and you can see the rotundifolia is here, so I planted 3 of them, some of which have just finished flowering again, like these ones, and then at the back I have a few Anglica. So the Angelica at the back, they haven't flowered this year, but then did struggle to begin with in the spring. So a couple of them, I think especially this one, which seemed to be the biggest one, they went back to a hibernacula after starting to get a couple of leaves due to the weather, obviously having the frost rate after some warm weather. And some of them didn't look like they'd make it, but obviously tough little native sundews did come back, even though they were just seedlings when originally planted. So hopefully over the winter they will come back a bit better next spring once they've accumulated into the soil properly and kind of had that full weather experience. Then this at the back is the a massive now cluster of the Venosa vardictoma. So I remember in my last video that this hadn't even come up at all, and I thought it rotted away over winter because there was no signs of growth whatsoever. And literally, I would say probably only in the last month it kind of just exploded, as you can see, and it's formed a really tight mass cluster. So obviously again, being outside doesn't give it a chance to have the elongated leaves such as in the greenhouse, and it's formed a really nice neat cluster. Obviously the only thing about these Bonatas are they are kind of weedy like habits, because you can see that has slowly managed to spread, so the roots have obviously trailed under and spread even to this far out into the bog, and it's all mingled in with the Sarasinia purpurea here. But it has got loads of dew, so even though this spot isn't more sheltered than the other one, everything in here seems to have stood up and done a lot better with the wind. Obviously we've got a little bit of breeze today and it's looking quite nice. So getting a better look at the Purpuria, so this one here, which is the bigger one, has always been in here. So the only thing that I did not change over winter with this planting scheme was the Saracenia Purpuria that was originally in here, and I did add one of my tiny babies, and they've done both really well. Obviously the large one is starting to get really close to the little one, which eventually would mean they would probably need to be moved, but they have produced the same rich colour that they do in the greenhouse, which is beautiful. And again, it's got a few more pictures, especially this little one here. Oh, somewhere in this perfect timing for excellent like focus on this. So you can see that kind of got like a really nice silky kind of coloration, and obviously as well, even though the pictures are quite small on these younger plants, they still are full of water from the rain, which is obviously gave good trapping mechanisms. And once they obviously start opening, there'll be this light colour again, which will eventually go into the deeper colour you see there at the back. But they've just done really well, and I'm really happy with just the kind of red contrast against the really nice lime green colour of the grandiflora. And finally, the last coniferous plant I've got in here is the Saracenia Eva. So I brought this one specifically for the bog because they're good bog plants and they can go down to a colder temperature. And I am very surprised. I've never had a plant, apart from obviously the Purpuria, adjust so quickly to being outside in obviously the bog barrels. And this has done so well, because originally when it first started coming out, it did just have that one little picture at the back which didn't have much colour. Produced a couple more of these other ones. I was like, oh, that's all I'm going to get this year. But obviously being a Leucophila means they'll get the later pictures which have more colour, and it has formed a perfect picture. Like, that is the proper coloration of Eva. It's even got the nice upright picture, which is a decent size, and it's still got more traps to come. So I'm just extremely happy with that, and that white splash that it kind of gives to the bog is really, really nice. Obviously against the contrasting colours of everything else that I've got in here. So that's kind of an update of the second barrel with, I think, coniferous in here. I also wanted to point out while I was here the patches of Sphagnum Moss. So I did put a few clusters in here, and some of it was like semi-alive sphagnum, quite dry when I did put it in here, and it has now started to come back in all the patches that I placed it. So it's formed some nice little tight clusters here, and obviously it's nice and moist with the moisture in the bog, which has kind of created that perfect environment. It's growing really well, so you can see it's starting to go underneath the Bonata here, and I've got a few other kind of patches which you can see are now starting to green up and look really nice and healthy. So I've only kind of like put singular ones around, and I'm hoping that will produce like a nice cluster that will spread eventually throughout the whole barrel. So I might need to add more in and see if it, you know, adjusts. And I would love a like Sphagnum Moss cover to this, but obviously at the moment I do have quite a few patches of just the regular moss which may take over, but obviously we've still got some nice clusters of sphagnum which make a nice difference to the texture in the bog. Okay, so that was a quick rundown of what the bog barrels are currently looking like. So as you can see, everything is looking relatively okay for this time of year. Obviously the Saracenia will fall quicker than the ones in the greenhouse due to obviously the abundance of flies and insects that are in the pictures, and obviously the weather and elements as well. It gets obviously colder outside quicker, so the growing season is shorter. However, obviously having the bog barrels outside is a really good idea of what can be grown successfully in the UK, even stuff that's obviously not native to the UK, such as Saracenias, especially like the flava species and the Leucophilas. So it's really interesting to see, and obviously it's all experimental at the end of the day, and I just like trying out new things. So especially for that second barrel, I may eventually take out the Banata if it becomes a problem, because it's starting to obviously root through everything else, and replace it with some smaller subjects and make it maybe a more UK native type of barrel with more smaller like Drosera anglica and Drosera rotundifolia. So I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Obviously I'm always open to video suggestions if anybody's ever got any. I'm thinking potentially about doing a Q&A video, so maybe like people ask me questions about maybe my growing styles or stuff that they've noticed in the greenhouse. I do get a few of the same questions a lot, and obviously it would be maybe good to do it in one video, so just let me know what you kind of think. So for now, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day.